So last week I reviewed Olivia Wilde's first movie as a director, but now she's back acting and I feel like this is a bit of a different role for her. She plays a vigilante of sorts, a kind of a gun for hire for victims of domestic abuse. Someone who trains hard and gets things done, while operating outside the law. Now I have to admit that whole idea did remind me a bit of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. But on the other hand, this does feel like a very different movie from those. So it didn't exactly bother me, it's just something I noticed. But anyway, she basically helps people who need her and don't have anywhere else to go. But it's also apparent that she's got her own issues too. She's battling her own demons as well as the evil in this physical world. And the movie itself is more about her story and her struggles than the actual vigilantism. That's important to her as well, as a character, sure. But that stuff doesn't really impact her story that much, which is a bit of a shame. Because I liked those vigilante parts quite a bit and would have liked to have seen more of it. It would have been fun to dive a little bit deeper into that and to see her take on more cases. But instead I feel like it mostly just sort of dipped its toes into that. And as I said, focused more on her as a character and her inner struggles, which on paper sounds good and should have been really compelling. But in practice I just didn't find it that interesting for some reason. I think there maybe needed to be a little bit more to it, a few more layers. I also wasn't a huge fan of how her backstory was revealed. At first it was intriguing, they just gave you some vague clues. But I picked up on those clues and it was interesting to me. But then they went into these flashback sequences and reveal more or less what I'd already figured out, so it didn't feel very impactful. It only revealed some details that could have been delivered in a more subtle way. They could have found a way to inform the viewer without explicitly telling them what happened. Which I guess brings me to the third act of the movie, where it takes a bit of a turn. It switches gears and raises the stakes, and it essentially changes focus to what had always been the underlying story here, the real driving force behind it all. And I'm not sure exactly why, but that part just didn't quite work for me. Maybe it had something to do with the quote-unquote villain, or maybe it was just the execution. Because there were a few things that felt a little bit abrupt. It all made sense in hindsight, but I don't think the movie made it clear enough early on that that's what was going on the whole time. But whatever the reason, I did lose a little bit of interest there toward the end. Instead of getting more exciting, it got less exciting to me. Even with the raised stakes, so there were definitely some issues there with how that last part was handled. And then it just wrapped everything up super quick too. It felt a bit rushed, even though I guess there wasn't much else to do either. There weren't many loose ends to tie up or anything like that. So it made sense not to drag it out for no reason. I mean, that's what you should do. When the story's done, wrap it up. So then, why did the very end feel rushed? I don't know, and that's my main issue with the movie. I just don't know. All the ingredients are there and I liked most of the elements well enough. It was well directed and edited, I thought the main performance was good. I liked the simple but effective score too. It fit the mood very well. And the movie also dealt with some real issues and some pretty bleak and dark issues too. But at the end of the day, I honestly didn't care that much for it. I don't think it's bad, I didn't dislike it, I just didn't find it all that compelling, for some reason. But would I recommend it? If you've got nothing better to do, maybe check it out. Otherwise, you're not missing much, so probably skip it. Or don't. I'm not your dad. But I am trying to sell out, so consider liking, subbing, hitting that bell, and supporting me on Patreon. Because I really need to build myself a hunting cabin. And hey, why not drop a comment below or check out another review? I'd appreciate it. Thanks.